Apple TV? Check. Godzilla? Check. All episodes out now? This is gonna be good. Hey yo, what's good? Welcome to The Gist. With me, Jared. Okay, full biases acknowledged. I'm a big fan of the vast majority of things on Apple TV+. In a world where content is king, Apple TV consistently puts out some solid content. And Monarch Legacy of Monsters is one of them. Set in the monster universe of the recent Godzilla and King Kong movies, Monarch Legacy of Monsters brings us the origins of the monster research organization, Monarch, along with its founders, William Randa, Keiko Mura, and Lee Shaw.
The world is on fire. If you want to save millions of lives, we can use some help.
There was so much to like with this series, especially if you're a fan of the recent MonsterVerse films. Admittedly, the focal point in the story isn't the monsters or even Godzilla, but they do appear often enough throughout the series that it makes it a fun watch. I was very impressed with the CGI and the effects of this show. The monsters looked great, and the environments didn't feel or look cheap at all. From a visual and aesthetic perspective, the show looks like it cost a pretty penny, and I believe that it delivers on how engaging and enjoyable it is. The narrative through line of the show focuses on Kate Randa, who uncovers secrets about her father and her family, and ultimately their ties to Monarch and Godzilla, the monster who changed her world forever. Monarch Legacy of Monsters follows two general timelines of modern day and events in the past. I like this aspect of the story, but I will admit that there were times where the time jumping was a bit hard to follow. The moments we see in the past aren't necessarily in chronological order, and it took me some time to pick up on that. As someone who is trying to watch week to week, I had a somewhat difficult time keeping track of the events occurring in both time periods. Honestly, I like the story being told in the past a decent bit more than the story being told in the modern setting. I enjoyed the dynamic between the founding characters and seeing how the Monarch organization came to be before it became this bigger conglomerate. What I enjoyed most about the modern day storyline was the relational development between the step-siblings of Kate and Kentaro. The arc of where their relationship begins and ends was an endearing and heartwarming aspect of the show. I really liked how expansive and rich this series made the world and the lore of the MonsterVerse. An aspect I didn't really enjoy was the plotline for May's character, but the payoff for how it tied into the broader MonsterVerse was dope. In hindsight, I get why the show spent that much time on her character and backstory, even though I found that episode the least enjoyable. Despite how much I liked Monarch Legacy of Monsters, I believe that it'll be challenging to have as good of a time if you're not really familiar with the world and the lore of the MonsterVerse films, from Kong Skull Island up to the recent Godzilla vs. Kong. I even needed a refresher and decided to rewatch some of the Godzilla films in the interim of waiting in between episodes. And even then, there were still things that I didn't even realize until after the series was finished. Though there are some flashbacks to key moments in the previous films, one may get a bit lost in understanding the context of how the world works because of the things that had happened in the previous MonsterVerse movies. After all, this is a direct spin-off to the Godzilla and King Kong movies. The majority of the show does well in maintaining verisimilitude, but those last two episodes went a bit too sci-fi crazy for me. I still can't pinpoint whether I like or dislike what was introduced, but I am curious to see the implications of the things that had happened on the upcoming MonsterVerse content. Godzilla and Kong the New Empire, in particular. I don't imagine that it'll be a huge focal point, but I would enjoy some of the characters from the series crossing over to the big screen. And that's the gist to my spoiler-free review of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. This series is a lot of fun for Godzilla and King Kong fans. It's a great appetizer for what I'm hoping is an awesome next installment to the Godzilla and King Kong movie universe. This series has a solid story, awesome CGI, and though it may require some prerequisite viewing, it's a worthwhile watch for those who find themselves mildly interested. What did you think of Monarch? Did you prefer the modern day storyline or the storyline of the past? Hit me up, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll catch you next time on The Gist.